If you got thrown into the underground criminal world of Los Angeles, what would you do? You've just been brainwashed. The only word you remember is survive. You're gonna have to learn the art of murder, team up with another cold-hearted killer, and take on so many evil jobs. You're positive your soul is bound for hell. Today we're gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the turf wars in Phantom, Requiem of the Phantom. This guy just woke up with no name, no memories, and no idea he's about to be turned into a living weapon. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself alone in an empty, windowless room. There's a single door, a faint light, and no hint of where or who he is. He takes the initiative and breaks the lock in order to escape. But as soon as he steps out, a masked girl, dressed in black, pulls out a gun and fires. He barely escapes death and sprints down the hallway. Although this is his first life or death situation, he seems to handle it really well. Unarmed and confused, he does the only thing he can, run. But that's the problem. This entire building is a controlled environment. He's being watched through cameras, tracked, studied, every hallway, every dead end, every trap, deliberately designed to test his instincts under extreme pressure. He finds a crowbar and uses it to defend himself as the masked assassin chases him. The girl's fast, silent, and ruthless. But somehow, he manages to stay alive long enough to surprise her. He disarms her in one moment and she gets caught and holds her at knife point. For someone with no memories at all, his muscle memory is really good. He fights like John Wick, purely on instinct, with every fiber of his being screaming, survive. However, when he sees her face, he hesitates. He chooses to let her go and walks towards the entrance of the environment. And that's when he finds out he's on an uninhabited island. Okay. It's great that our boy has the instincts of a natural-born Jason Statham, but he cut it close. And frankly, if the assassin were serious about killing him, he would have died before he had the chance to disarm her. While it might seem like he was screwed, there was something he could have done. The fact the dude was alive, for starters, was proof he was not only valuable, but also important. I mean, statistics show that nearly 47,000 people died of gun-related injuries in the US in 2023, and in our boy's case, we're not just talking about random shooters. No, we're talking about an encounter with a highly trained assassin. If they wanted him dead, he would be dead. This also means we are of more value to them alive than we are dead. The fact they've taken the time to brainwash him and give him neat clothes means they most likely have use of him. Depending on how they respond, we can do one of two things. You could try to kidnap the kidnapper. Now, don't do this if you don't have at all any athletic abilities. And here's what we mean. After his fake kicking the bucket attempt, one of the persons most likely watching him would rush into his room to see if he can still be saved. What they wouldn't know is that the weapon he used is still there. That weapon and whoever comes in to check would be our ticket out of this pickle. Now all you would need to do is overpower the person checking on him by catching him off guard and pitting them to the floor. Now he's a hostage, but this new hostage situation would help him because most people don't know how to react under pressure. Now under pressure, people will overperform or underperform. The fight or flight response. The need to be ready. Now he would need to react quickly based on the action his captors take, which is why instead of trying to be completely hostile, I would try to strike up a conversation. We would get to the next best outcome by negotiation, and once we're able to convince our captors we're not leaving anytime soon, we would have more time to think, survey our environment, and come up with an even better plan. While he's outside, the female assassin joins him and introduces herself as Ein. She also lets him know that his new name is Vi. Before he can ask about his old name or old life, she shoots him with a tranq dart. As his consciousness fades, the observers show up. A man named Scythe Master and a woman named Miss McCunnin, both members of a mysterious group named Inferno. He's impressed because Ein is the best assassin in Inferno, and our boy Vi, with no training, was able to overpower her for a moment. Miss McCunnin listens to Scythe Master's plan to train the boy and finally gives in to it. She doesn't realize at all Scythe Master is doing this for his own good, because in a few weeks, Scythe Master will take Ein and Vi under the code name of Phantom and causing havoc, starting with the death of this dude in his private helicopter. Except the thing is, everything Scythe Master does with his two soon-to-be killer dogs is for the sake of Inferno. There are 5 main organizations in Los Angeles, and Inferno is coming for all of them, using Phantom as their axe. Meanwhile, Zwei wakes up from his tranq dart, and Ein is by his door. She tells him not to bother being on guard around her because she won't attack him again, but she does something much worse. She decides to train him. She gives him the good news that his pre-installed instincts of self-preservation make him the perfect specimen for an assassin. So her organization has graciously decided to train him and make him their pet. Yay! She also informs him that his memories are all gone, forever, scrubbed. She gives him the rundown of Inferno and tells Vi that he will be the second killing machine, her alter ego. But Zwei isn't having it. He exercises his right to freedom of speech and calls her bullshit and tries to call her out. Except she pulls out a real gun and points it in his face. She informs him that he was originally supposed to be killed and was only spared because her master noticed his potential. So the minute he doesn't get with the program, he's gonna get dead as originally planned. That's why Zwei finally agrees to get trained. The next few days are hell for him. He does everything to give Saitama a run for his money as the world's strongest man, from sprinting to push-ups, sit-ups, sparring. And when he gets his physical abilities up a bit, Ein teaches him how to use a gun, and our boy learns more and more after that. And he sinks himself into devilish practice, shooting, even when he has no gun in his hands. And one day, Scythe Master finally shows up at the training site. He didn't come for Zwei, though. He calls Ein into the car and tells her she has a new job. Before she leaves, Ein tells Zwei to continue with his usual training, but no one realizes that Miss McCunnan is also in the building. After they leave, she enters Zwei's room, and she gives him a rundown of Inferno. The goal is to unite the underworld groups, and thanks to Ein, they're succeeding. Before leaving, she tells Zwei that he's not a slave. Yeah, right. Because he also has the ability to rise to the top of Inferno if he sets his mind to it. Meanwhile, Ein completes her assignment with a single shot and returns to the training base. How to escape when no one is watching you. Okay, well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, Zwei, what the F-nuts is wrong with you, my boy? They gave him a chance of a lifetime. He fumbled the bag. The brainwashing is definitely working, but if we were in his shoes, this is the time to escape. From the first time since he woke up, he's finally had a chance to be all by himself. And that means today would have been the best day to disappear. But people don't just disappear, and that's why Zwei's real mistake was that he didn't make any plans. People get kidnapped every now and then, and on a global scale it happens all the time. The Global Report on Trafficking in Persons, produced by the UNODC in 2024, reports there was a 25% increase in the number of persons trafficked during the year, with over 40 million people estimated to be in some of modern-day slavery or the other. And this is why we need to make sure we know how to get out of the situation. Zwei evidently has already been brainwashed to the point where he's not even trying anything, and it seems like he's given up hope, and now hope is not a strategy, is the first thing you need. You need hope that one day your employer would get caught slacking, and you'll get the chance to escape. And with that hope in mind, I would begin laying the groundwork for my successful escape. Now we're going to need to get a rough layout of the terrain, because we can't escape if we don't know where we're going. And that's where Zwei's stamina training comes in. During the stamina training phase, Ein gave Zwei permission to jog around the island, as far as his weak legs could carry him. And this means we would have all the time we need to explore the island for routes off the island, and which is the fastest on foot from our trailer park. That's why we will start by jogging farther and farther every day. If anybody asks, we're just trying to get the stamina up. And then once we're done surveying the land, we will start timing ourselves to know how long it takes to jog that far. And we don't know how long we're gonna have to go on the day the opportunity comes, so we have to be prepared to do it as fast as possible. Now with all that preparation, Zwei would definitely have been ready to disappear soon as Ein stepped out. Except we got one problem: we don't know how deep Inferno runs in the city, so we need some time to figure out who the top guns in Inferno are and their major routes. Then, and only then, can he go fully off the radar and live a peaceful, quiet life away from the blood and guns of Inferno. That night, Miss McCunnan gets caught by her friend Lizzie. She ogling a passport of a dude called Reiji, who looks exactly like Zwei, but Lizzie doesn't believe our boy would be able to hurt a fly. Back at the base, Zwei continues his training, and this time it's hand-to-hand combat, although he managed to overpower Ein on the first night. Turns out she was really going easy on him because he gets his butt handed to him so bad. That evening, Scythe Master takes Ein for another job, but this time, it's not the kind you're thinking about. He gets our girl and oils her while making her shoot. The next morning, she returns to their base, but quickly tells Vi that he needs to get ready for his continuous assessments. Meanwhile, the subject of his assessment doesn't know he's been chosen. He's this buff-looking double agent. He's a Navy SEAL. And he talks with Scythe and Miss McCunnan about the need to protect him because he has valuable info on Inferno. If he gets kidnapped, all their operations will be in jeopardy, and he has no idea he just made his last mistake. Zwei picks up his weapon and laces up for the show. That night, more members of Inferno show up at the base, including Lizzie and blue-haired guy here, named Mr. McGuire. McCunnan informs the Navy SEAL that he got too greedy, so they're gonna give him a chance to save himself by killing Zwei. Zwei tries to decline the offer to draw first blood, but once again, Ein gives him all the encouragement that he will ever need with a gun to his head. So with no choice, he enters the building to play hide-and-seek with the Navy SEAL. Ein estimates they're evenly matched, but she is so wrong. Navy SEAL here is really cunning. and that's all the advantage he needs. He gets Vi to lower his guard by proposing a truce, but Vi figures out that it's a trick in time. But he still gets caught slacking. The Navy SEAL hides in the ceiling and shoots him in the hand. And after that, Vi gets his butt handed to him, but when push comes to shove, he finds the courage and stabs the guy in the hand and pulls the trigger. Ein gives a proud sensei speech and tells our boy that he's now a part of the underworld, so he better abandon all emotion and become a full-time killer. Except, although Vi believes he came to Los Angeles as a tourist, McCunn reveals to McGuire as they leave that Vi was recommended to them by a shadow group in Japan. So there's way more to our boy's story, and things are about to get way more interesting. A few days later, Vi and Ein go shopping in the city. At least that's what they want you to think. They're reconning, and their target has no idea his life is about to be cut short. They go from shop to shop, buying stuff in the mall like an actual couple for a moment. Like, Vi actually forgets that Ein is the Phantom, the greatest killer in the city. She's acting like a real girl with emotions, laughing, buying teddies, and being all cute, and you're just like, wow, if only I didn't know the other side of you. When they leave the mall, they discuss the security architecture of the mall, count how many cameras are inside, come up with strategies to get around them with blind spots. And while they head home, the higher-ups in Inferno get into a heated discussion. McCunn believes they're overworking Phantom, but Scythe Master trusts his creation and tells them to expect optimum results at all times. Back in his hotel room, Vi goes over details of their target, and then he joins Ein to plan the actual details of the mission. For the first time, they put Vi in charge of deciding how the mission will go, so he shares his plan with Ein. But when Ein sees Zvi's eyes change, she stops him from thinking any more about the plan. The next day, the target shows up as expected with his bodyguards, buying a gift for his daughter. However, Ein gets tagged while she's surveilling, so Zvi comes to her rescue, and he takes a slap across his face to sell the fake scenario Ein cooks up, but it does work. After the guards leave, they continue on with the plan. As soon as the target enters his vehicle to leave, they rush out with their guns blazing. Zvi lays down cover fire, shooting down 3 guards and the car tire before Ein goes in for the kill. But once again, she slips up after disposing the target. 2 bullets, well aimed, almost find the back of her head, but Zvi moves like a true Phantom. He's so fast that even Ein is stunned. He covers her before their ride arrives and they get away. By evening, they return to the shelter, but something in Ein is shaken. She watches Zvi from the shadows, wondering how he was able to finish in 3 months what took her over 2 years. Zvi really is a killer prodigy. But that's not the only problem, because she now sees herself in Zvi's eyes. She doesn't want to admit that she's really a stone-cold killer. The next day, it's time to acquire more turf for Inferno. While this dude named Tony chases away a drug peddler from his family-owned casino, he has no idea Inferno is gunning for him, and he heads home to have some quality time with his family. His guard shows up and tells him he has a visitor, and when they check, it's a dispatch from Inferno. And the dispatch tells Tony, sell your casino. Inferno wants it, but he's not having it. And before he leaves, dispatch tells Tony that he would be back in 3 days, and by then, Tony will be ready to sell. As soon as he leaves, Tony tells his boys do a full investigation on Inferno, because there's no way a new association would kick his family out of business, or is there? Meanwhile, Ein and Zvi spend their days sparring in the hideout, and Ein wins again despite how skilled he is. Like he still can't beat his teacher. And McCunn shows up and invites Zvi to her house, because she has 2 missions for him. The first is to watch her for the night because her guard Lizzie is on another mission. The second is to stalk a mother and a child. Zvi accepts without questioning. McCunn reminds him he's not a robot. He says he needs to question more, but our boy's mind is so broken, it's all kill or don't kill. The investigators bring their report back to Tony and he pieces it together. Inferno is a special organization connected to many mafia families, and he figures out that Inferno is trying to swallow his family's business. Except he decides to be stubborn. He says he's going to negotiate and pull them into a fight. What he doesn't know is that, like true chess masters, trap was already sprung and he's walking right into it. The next day, Zvi and Ein head down to the park for recon, but when Zvi crosses eyes with Tony's kid, he hesitates. Will he really be able to pull the trigger when told? At night, McCunn and Lizzie go for the meeting as Inferno's representatives, and Tony meets them in his house believing he has the advantage. He has no idea that Zvi is outside, staking out his building. Negotiations begin, and Tony immediately emphasizes his stance against letting go of his family's heirloom. McCunn tries to convince him, and instead his goons bring out their guns and draw first blood. McCunn and Lizzie take cover while Ein sends them support from outside with her sniper rifle. McCunn calls Zvi and gives him the green light. He slips into the room and kills Tony's family. Mother, child, dead. And by the time Tony returns, Zvi is long gone. Oh, that's a very rough day for Tony. Now, if we're in his shoes, we gotta handle things differently. Here's what we would do. We would not have just found out incriminating details about the agency. We would employ a two-pronged strategy. First, attack them to take down their image, and the second is to spare no expense to protect your lineage. Yeah, Tony did a great job attempting to know his opponent, but he didn't really protect his leverage. When you have leverage over somebody, especially relating to family, that's real power. While you may not choose your family, that bond can be our greatest strength. The first thing I would do is hire a new set of guards. Yeah, things are tough in the turf, but there should be one or two good people that he had helped who could step into the role of new bodyguards for his family. We need to do this, because the agency we're facing is dangerous and they likely already have spies in our current ranks. Getting fresh, loyal dudes would be the first step in protecting the bonds of our family. Now that we got new dudes, we would take our family to a new location, far away from the heat of the battle, because no one goes to war when his house is not yet protected. We're gonna keep them out of America if possible, before agreeing to pull out the weapons and let shit get dirty. Now once again, we're not gonna stop there. Inferno has shown they are desperate and will go to any length to get what they want. That's why you need to make the use of body doubles. We need to find a woman and a child that looks reasonably like Tony's family and position them at various hotels and safe houses belonging to Tony. With this, Inferno really won't know which one is the main target. Using this misdirection would help keep them away from all the Inferno attacks and consequently keep them safe. We need to also figure out ways to use Mission Impossible level type of masks to make the women and the children all look like Tony's family. Although Tony is in pain, he buries his family and decides to carry out his revenge. But instead of just emotion, he's logical. He gets a list of members of Inferno and sends his lackey to dig into them for any dirt that can help bring him down. But he has no idea that Inferno is already onto him. At their meeting, McCunnin informs him there was a spy stalking them, and before she can go any further, Scythe Master throws Phantom Ein into the mix by proposing a bold plan to stop Tony's tracks. And this time, he's not planning to kill yet. McCunnin feels Scythe Master's control over the group expanding. She can't do anything about it. Later, Ein meets with Scythe Master, but when she gets back to the car, Zwei can tell that something serious is about to happen. When he asks, she gives him a file and tells him to go over it in detail, because they have 12 new targets and must be executed to perfection. They cannot get caught. After reaching home, Zwei looks through the files, but when he realizes that all the targets are all of Inferno's major competitors, he tries to ask the reason for the mission, but Ein shuts him down because they're puppets. That's what they are. Their job is to dance to the tune being played. She warns him that if he continues thinking about the reason why they kill, he will end up hurting her and himself. That night, Ein dresses up like a doll while Zwei dresses like a stud in a suit. Together they head down to a ball, but unlike anyone else, they're really on official business. This weird-looking dude is the first to taste the silent edge of Ein's gun. As soon as she turns his lights out, just outside the main hall, she hands over her gun to an Inferno agent and proceeds on like nothing happened. And next, Zwei takes the stage for phase 2. He runs like a madman, headshots one of the main leaders, and runs away while wearing a mask. It's all part of the plan. The guards chase him, except when they run out of the hall, they find the mask next to the dead body of the guard Ein killed earlier. And next they go after another big headshot, heading home after the dinner, and make his death look like an accident. And Inferno is not done. They continue with their killing spree, and each time killing one person, and they leave the dead body of a member of Tony's family, making it seem like a gang war between poor Tony and some other group in the city. And the biggest twist happens right inside Tony's room. Unknown to him, his right-hand man, Anton, is a spy of Inferno. When Tony can't reach any of his guys, he tries to find out what's going on from Anton. But instead of a solid reply, he gets 2 bullets in his body. And with that, all the major underground family heads met their death in one night. By next morning, Inferno had replaced them with their people, all according to Scythe Master's plan. After the news dies down, Miss McCunnin holds a secret meeting with Scythe Master because she wants to make a move without the rest of Inferno's knowledge. Later, she picks up Zwei and almost sends him on a one-way trip to hell when she grabs his leg while he's driving. Ein meets up with Scythe Master and gets the info on the side quest. But when Scythe Master points out that McCunnin is trying to steal Zwei, Ein says it doesn't matter because she can carry out all the missions on her own. Meanwhile, McCunnin sends Zwei to have fun in her car while she meets up with these 2 shady-looking men in suits. She strikes a bargain with them to help cover their cocaine deals in exchange for a favor she can call on at any time. They buy in the agreement. And elsewhere, our girl Ein takes a trip to memory lane to her chance meeting with Zwei. Turns out he picked a bag from a reporter that was Ein's target and managed to evade Ein for days. Later, Ein and Zwei stake out the location of their next target. They have no idea how messy things are about to get. A few minutes before action time, Zwei gets a call from Lizzie. His mission was changed. And although he's reluctant, Ein tells him to listen to McCunnin because she's confident she can handle the mission alone. Zwei heads down to Miss McCunnin's house when he asks her to allow him to go back and support Ein, and she dangles the one thing he's subconsciously been thinking about the most, his past. McCunnin pulls out his original passport and dares him to take a dive into the waters of his history. Meanwhile, at the site of the original job, Ein causes a commotion as planned, by shooting at no one in particular, and surprisingly, Lizzie is also at the site, and she has no idea what's going on. Zwei takes McCunnan up on the offer, but as soon as he opens the passport and sees his name, memories come flooding in, and the guilt of all the lives he's taken so far, she tells him, accept the memories and work for her of his own free will. But she says if he can't work for her, she'll send him to Japan for free. That's a trap. Anyway, while our boy is busy playing lover boy with his newfound mistress, Lizzie is in a drawn-out battle with Ein, because Ein also started shooting at their allies, and Lizzie tells Ein to stop thinking like a pawn and use her brain. McCunnan lets Zwei go and gives him some time to think about her offer. By the time he gets home, Ein is covered in blood, and she warns Zwei to return to the organization. But before he can make a choice, McCunnan conveniently calls him and informs him that Scythe betrayed the organization, and therefore Inferno is looking for both Scythe and Ein, and now he has to make a decision to whether save Ein or turn her in. Well, shoot. We all know this is Zwei's fault, right? This would not have happened if he had stuck to the original plan. They already agreed they would take on the project together, and then he bailed. We gotta figure out a way to help Ein without offending Miss McCunnan. The idea that Zwei had to meet up with McCunnan because she sent for him is wrong. Philosopher Ruth Chang says, decisions become difficult when the options are neither better nor worse nor equal. In other words, you struggle to decide when no single choice has more benefit than the other. But that's Zwei's mistake. He thinks obeying McCunnan has the same result. He's fallen into the trap of egalitarianism. It's the idea that all things and all people are equal and can by necessary implication be treated the same way. Now, while the innate value may be the same, circumstances change who is more valuable in a given context. And that's why you don't tell your 3-year-old son to represent you in a court case. He's valuable and technically equal to the high equality Lincoln lawyer you're gonna hire, but in the context of work that needs to get done, he's not the man for the job. That's why our boy Zwei needs to learn, in every sense of the word, Ein is more valuable to him than McCunnan. Zwei barely knows McCunnan. All we know is that she showed up like a shady character when Ein was nowhere to be found and started planning thoughts in his head. Now, you can't partly blame Scythe Master for Zwei's relapsing, but the minute he started taking orders from McCunnan, Scythe Master, the owner of the project, should have stopped him and called him back to order. Now, since Ein and McCunnan don't have the same value, it would be a lot easier for Zwei to turn his back on McCunnan's instruction and go for the mission with Ein as he planned. Now, we need to make an excuse for why we can't respond to the call now and would show up only when the mission is over. That way, we would be there when the battle gets serious between Ein and Lizzie's faction. We would be able to prevent our sensei from getting shot. Before deciding, our boy pulls out his first aid skills and treats Ein's wound. He removes the bullet and does some cleaning, but the witch hunt has already started. As much as the search continues on, they can't seem to find Zwei or Ein. And what they don't know is that he's already taken her back to the training facility, and after tossing and turning for a bit, Zwei makes his choice. Despite having his memories back, he can't go home, and he also can't turn Ein in to the organization to kill her. So he does the next best thing. He runs away. But when Ein wakes up, she tells him to let her go, because she wants to go in search of her master. Zwei remains the voice of reason and convinces her that staying with him is the best way for her to help her master. She gives in and remains quiet, but she also tells him that he's changed. He's reasoning too much. That's why she calls him Reiji instead of Zwei. Later, they stop by a fueling station to get some stuff and food, but when he enters, these thugs try to rob him. After beating them half to death, Zwei proves that Ein might be right, doesn't kill him. Instead, he shoots the wall and walks away. As they drive, he tells Ein about his past, and this triggers Argo because she has nothing to return to. So when they lodge at a motel, Zwei heads out to get some more food. Ein locks the door and decides to end it, but that's when she realizes what's really wrong. She can't do it. Zwei returns just in time to stop her, and that's when she admits that for the first time in forever, she's afraid. And it's all because she doesn't know what she is expected to do next. As a loyal dog, Ein can't act without orders from her master. But now Scythe has gone into hiding and Argo is having an existential crisis. But Zwei isn't the genius assassin for nothing. He solves her crisis in a single moment. He gives Ein a new name to represent who she is now. He calls her Ellen. That's not all, he also gives her a new purpose, and together they decide to hunt down her missing past. And that's why he promises that if the organization manages to catch up to them, he will destroy the organization to protect her. However, just when he thinks he has finally won her over, things go sideways, because the next day when Zwei heads out to get a new car, Ein notices someone tailing her. She dispatches the guy in a dark alley, but immediately runs into old Master Scythe. In a split second, she forgets all about Zwei's beautiful nonsense and jumps ship back to her old master. But Zwei has run out of luck. He runs into Lizzie and McCunnan, and they're not pleased. They give him the beating of his life. When they're done, our boy finds his new purpose, killing Scythe. As soon as McCunnan figures out where Scythe is hiding, she lets a death-starved Zwei join the raiding party. What they don't realize is that this is all a part of his plan. He gives Ein a gun with 2 magazines and tells her that this is her final mission. And that's not all, because when Ein tries to ask a question, he slaps the crap out of her and reminds her that she's only a mindless assassin. Meanwhile, to earn Lizzie's trust, Zwei empties his gun of all but 1 bullet. The single bullet he plans has to use on Scythe. Now he's given himself the perfect handicap. He has only one shot, and if he misses, all hell will be let loose. The mission starts. Zwei saves his bullets by using his instincts and directs Lizzie and her crew on where the attacks would come from. Later, Zwei leaves them to face his own mission, eliminating Scythe. But when he runs into this dude from his team who's hell-bent on killing him, before Zwei can waste his bullet, Ein shows up and turns the lights out for the dude. Zwei chases after, and they finally end where they began, their guns pointed at each other. And while they're hesitating, Scythe sneaks up and almost kills Zwei. Zwei realizes, though, he was cornered, so what he does next is the best thing. He uses Talk no Jutsu. Except Scythe's brainwashing is almost as powerful as the power of love, and it looks like it's gonna be lights out for Zwei. But Lizzie shows up in the nick of time and starts shooting. Scythe runs away and Zwei goes into full phantom mode. He torments Scythe by toying around, and for the first time in the show, we see this twisted dude break. Scythe finally shows his fear and starts running like the little wuss that he is, but Zwei is not done. He gets into his head, and the man finally feels fear for the monster he made. Ein shows up behind them and tries to slow Zwei down by shooting at him, but she's bleeding and so her aim is poor. Zwei zeroes in for the kill and takes aim, and as soon as he lets the bullet fly, he realizes how much of a mistake he made, because Ein suddenly shows up in the bullet's path, a bullet meant for her master. Dang, boy, how the freak was Zwei thinking? Jeez. This is totally his fault again. He made Ein pay the ultimate price. His mistake, and of course, the constant mistake, was letting Scythe Master run around. He had one job. Shoot the guy in the head, that's it. There's no need for all the theatrics. The minute he had the shot, should have taken it. No need for phantom tricks or the fear and all this jazz. The problem is not exclusively one of phantom. You see it all the time in movies. The protagonist has the shot, one good hit, and it ends the reign of the villain, but instead he starts talking about their history and worse, like monologues, and drops the gun, fights with honor. Hate me all you want, but we're not doing that. Shoot! Move on. That's not all. Zwei found himself in that one precarious situation where he could have shot one bullet because he was trying to be a stud. The whole situation with Lizzie only got out of hand because Zwei didn't act fast. The moment he decided to join in on the raid, he already knew he was in bad company, and that means he should have had a backup plan. Throughout the series, Ein's been scolding Zwei for his acting until he's finally started getting good at it, and that's when we need to use it. Zwei didn't need to tell the truth. He only needed to make them think he was playing by their rules. To do this, you gotta get extra magazine rounds, because they're all gonna split up anyway. Every true assassin knows that the job can be unpredictable. As a master phantom, Zwei should have prepared for the chance that his one bullet would miss. That's why as soon as you're out of sight, you swap the magazine rounds, fill the gun up. If you got enough bullets, you would not have needed to wait for the perfect shot, and our girl Ein would still be alive. But as soon as Zwei realizes he made the biggest mistake yet, his gun is empty, and Scythe has his gun full. What happens next, we all know. 3 bullets land into Zwei's body, sending him tumbling to the bottom of the river right beside his darling tutor. But despite falling into the bottom of the river, he somehow finds a way to crawl back to land. Now Inferno has no idea, but they're gonna get a very detailed visit from the phantom that lost his love, and Zwei doesn't plan on taking it easy on them.